Zimbabwe is like really open for business when we say these things. Okay.
He says he has the president's authority to make a deal with Mr. Stanley.
The name is plenipotentiary. Pleni simply means full potential, means power, so full power. That means I can sign contracts, I can sign treaties with government without the president getting involved. And then they will be binding.
Zimbabwe is mineral rich. We have large deposits of gold, diamonds, lithium, nickel. But the lives of the people of Zimbabwe has not reflected this vast mineral wealth that her country holds. Now, President Mugabe, former President Robert Gabriel Mugabe, ousted in a military coup and now late, once said Zimbabwe had lost 15 billion United States worth of diamond which had been pilfered from the country. And from government statistics alone, over 100 million United States of American dollars are siphoned through the country through illicit mineral dealings and a whole host of other financial irregularities that happen within the body politic of this country. The Al Jazeera gold mafia document has just all but laid bare these things. It has opened the eyes of many Zimbabweans as to how there is illicit financial trading that is going on in this country, how the country is probably losing billions and billions of dollars to this racketeering. We here on this, The Free Talk, this week, we speak about the gold mafia. We look into the what ifs, the whys, and the whens. We take this debate, we take this battle to Parliament and hear what parliamentarians have to say about what has been the biggest expose in the history of illicit financial flows out of Zimbabwe. Now join me, your host as usual, Dara Blessed, on this, The Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom and Heart and Soul TV and Radio. Welcome back to this, The Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation. Here with me, your host on Heart and Soul TV and Radio. I am Dara Blessed Mhlanga. Now, this gold mafia thing has evoked a lot of apprehension, a lot of mixed feelings, with those who support the ruling ZANU-PF saying that this is just nothing but a political play ahead of a crucial 2022 2023 general election. Those in the opposition and those who are also against the opposition have also spoken about this gold mafia. Some have said the opposition has not really taken this to their advantage, while the opposition has also spoken about how they felt over the expose, where top people connected in government positions were recorded talking about how they facilitate illicit financial flows into the country and how gold trade is at the center. Now, earlier on, before this show, Hubert Angel, through his lawyer, Lovemore Maduku, issued a statement on the gold mafia. Now, let's just take a listen to just a few of the things that Lovemore Maduku raised ahead of this production.
Al Jazeera fourth episode, which we understood to have been the fourth and last episode of their documentary, would have been aired at or around 12 noon today. They had indicated that that was. So we had put our press conference for 2 p.m. with a view to ensuring that I'll make a statement on behalf of my client as per my instructions after all the episodes have been aired. Now, unfortunately, Al Jazeera have not yet aired the fourth episode. My instructions are to do the statement, or the statement that I have from my client, after the airing of the Al Jazeera fourth episode. So I am very much sorry that we will not be able then to proceed with the press conference in that light. We are sorry for that inconvenience, but I believe you will understand it was to give one statement which answers everything. So we will convene a press conference immediately after the fourth episode from Al Jazeera. I had to come and do this because I realized the interest that was in this press conference, and also that we wouldn't want to keep you waiting. But I very much plead with you to understand that situation, which is, we have to wait for that.
So let us just turn to the MPs. We spoke to MPs. We invited all MPs to come and air their views around the gold mafia. And it is important for me to state at this onset that we attempted to have interviews with the MPs from ZANU-PF who are in parliament. We spoke to the chief whip, Pupraito Garepi. We also attempted to speak to other legislators like Dexter Nduna, and they all said the gold mafia thing is too soon for them to speak around it. But here is what the other MPs said. How did they feel? How do they feel about this gold mafia issue?
The gold mafia documentary is quite a complicated problem for our nation. Because the gold mafia, from the looks of it, is a deliberately designed structure to sell gold out of the country in order to make money for individuals in the state at large. The people that are implicated in the gold mafia are people that are related to the state, such as Hubert Angels, Passion Bar Chava. These are people that are known to be related to the state somehow. So which therefore means this was a means which was put in place to bust sanctions in order to raise foreign currency, in my view. So it's not something that was a shock. It was a shock to the people of Zimbabwe, but not to the state. I don't believe so. I'm quite sure the state was aware of what was going on. We have had incidents in which very famous people such as Henrietta Shwai were once implicated in smuggling of gold at the Zimbabwe airport. So these things, you cannot really rule them out, that it was a well-structured system, mechanism put in place, which was well known by the state, And today the state could be really in a shock because the gold mafia has been exposed. In so doing, the gold mafia has got very serious impact, repercussions to the state. The integrity of the government itself is now in question. The country is going to be regarded as a mafia country, gold mafia country. It will affect its integrity even to trade with other countries. Because if you listen to the episodes on the social media so far, South African banks are also involved. Various companies which were used as conduits to launder the money. So you can see it's not something small, it's something very huge, something very complicated, something that needs all our effort to make sure that it must not happen or it must be stopped. And I do believe the government should take responsibility to denounce it. At the moment, there are piecemeals of ministers here and there tonight to denounce it. I don't think it's enough. It's not enough. It would be better if the Minister of Finance would give a statement in the Parliament to explain to us what is gold mafia, who is in the gold mafia, who initiated it, and what action has been taken to make sure that the culprits are brought to book. We need this statement in Parliament as a matter of urgency from the Minister of Finance.
I think it's something that is critical from a response point of view. It's a national agenda, especially when you talk about the resources of this country, which are supposed to transform the lives of people, which play a pivotal role in rebuilding the economy and also people's welfare. It also talks about the corruption which is supposedly have happened and all that. It also implicates, the office of the first citizen. And once the office of the first citizen, who's the president, is mentioned, there needs to be clarity in terms of that. And short of it, we end up into speculation, and you don't want people to speculate. I think it's the responsibility of the government to be able to tackle these issues in their respective manner. I think what is critical from the Al Jazeera expose, if you want to call it, is the many parties involved, and these parties not pawns, because in terms of corruption there's also the aspect of people being used, and were they doing things above board and so forth. So there's also the question of the busting of sanctions, and the aspect that while there's been sanctions, but there's no trade embargo. The gold is not on sanctions. So what is the end story of it if it's not on sanctions? Is this the way to bust sanctions? Is this the way to grow the economy? And again, it seems as if the very same people who are involved seem to have their frozen account, their accounts frozen. So if they were doing things above board, why are you freezing the account? If you are freezing the account, you are admitting that the gold was also illegal because the gold was coming from this country. So why then freeze people's accounts? Because if you follow the responses of those involved, Simon Rudland, Ewan Macmillan, they are clear that they did things above board, and this was moved within the laws of the country. I've equally not seen a law that they've breached in terms of what they've said. And again, they are very clear about all this transaction that they were done above board, and the movement of the gold was above board. So we've done nothing wrong. And the next question is the leadership. So why is the leadership in a panic mode if there's documents pointing to the issue of them being done above board?
Well, I think my feelings are well known. I'm very concerned that it's taken so long to come out. For years, the public have been aware of what's happening. It's taken something like Al Jazeera to wake us up of exactly where the money's going.
The Gold Mafia documentary aired by Al Jazeera has confirmed what many Zimbabweans have always suspected, that the leakage of our minerals through a cartel And I think we have heard the stories before, people using the airport to smuggle diamonds, to smuggle gold, and I think it has been in the public domain. The only problem was that many people didn't know to what extent this leakage is, and the exposed by Al Jazeera is actually laid bare the situation that is prevailing in the country, and this explains why, as a country, we are not developing.
I feel angry as a citizen of Zimbabwe. I also feel angry as a legislature because as a legislature, I feel that we are not doing enough to curb corruption, to curb the continued looting of natural resources from this country. As a citizen, I feel sad to know that millions of worth of gold are being looted and smuggled out of the country, and we are facing economic challenges, social challenges. Our roads are in bad state, our health system is not working. As a result, we then become helpless when we also see that the government and the top officials of government are also involved in smuggling natural resources out of this country. This means the resources are not benefiting the citizens.
Inyaya inototibatawo ichitirwadza kuti sevanhu vari kutambura muZimbabwe tonzwa kuti upfumi hwakadaro huri kubuda munyika.
Zvinotirwadza kabhozika mari yega inofanira kubatsira ikonomi yedu isusu. Reaction yedu ndichinzwa inini gold redu richibuda mari yedu yeZimbabwe inouya kuRBZ. RBZ ati ndo bhengi redu hombe. Tozomba kouya 2 tina anonzi governor kwedu ka mangonji kauya ndiye anofanira kutipa account back yemari iyo kuti yakaenda kupi.
We also spoke to MPs to try and determine if they believe that citizens are playing their role in ensuring that they keep the executive to account, in ensuring that all the arms of government which derive their power from the citizens are failing. Now, what is the citizen role in all this, Senator Committee?
The role of citizens is to demand accountability. The role of citizens is to know the truth. The role of citizens must hold the government accountable, because this gold is the natural resource for the people of Zimbabwe. People must demand to know where did they benefit out of this gold mafia. What was it that was done out of this gold mafia which benefited the society? Because at the moment, people in our country are languishing in abject poverty. Things are not bearable at the moment. Look at the civil servants, especially the teachers. They are earning $60,000. Even if you increase by 100%, you'll be getting $120,000. If you look at the rate of exchange right now, that has been eroded already. Things have doubled in prices. So the life is very difficult. So how and where did we as the society benefit from the gold mafia? Because what we all feel is that we lost quite a lot. Our gold was abused. Our gold was found in the hands of crooks and matsotsi. And we feel our natural resources is not being accounted for.
What the citizens have done is commendable in that they want answers, and they must get their answers, because it's pretty clear that the government is the people, and the people are the ones who must hold government accountable to whatever they feel that is not being done in their best interest, in whatever they feel that is not being done in the transparency and accountability framework, which we believe all the resources should be. So this opens out to accountability. This again, the citizens are also saying, if that's not the case, they're responsible for also exposing corruption and finding out who is corrupted at the end of the day and so forth.
Well, I think as citizens, we're very tired of all the same things where everything has got political cover, everything goes to the top, and it's only the elite, the ruling elite, that are feeding off the joys of Zimbabwe. We are left with nothing, and we are struggling, and these things can't be brought to order purely because they've got political cover.
In all this process, the citizens, they can petition the government to make sure that there is a resource charter which then binds government officials, which then says, as is written in the Constitution, that resources should benefit the people who are local to where the resources are coming from. As a result, there must be measures put in place by the government to make sure that wherever extraction of resources is happening, it does not end up in primitive accumulation, where you see top government officials colluding with top government officials from other countries, where they are now looting resources from Zimbabwe. So the citizens can petition the parliament and make it clear to the parliament that they need to reform the mineral laws, or the laws governing the minerals in this country, so that the minerals that are being extracted are really benefiting the people. So the citizens can even demonstrate, it is their constitutional right to also demonstrate expressing their displeasure in the manner in which resources are being extracted and smuggled out of this country.
I think it is imperative to every citizen to make sure that they open their eyes, they open their mouth, and they comprehend and also take action. Because every dollar that is being spent, every gram that is being smuggled, every kg of gold that is being smuggled is actually a dig into the wealth of this country, and has got a huge social, economic ramifications on each and every individual. Because the part of the challenge that we face in this country, when you see that we don't have the proper infrastructure, road infrastructure, our sewer system, our education system, our health system is in crisis. If all this money that is being smuggled and being taken by these individuals was to be plowed back into the society, we would be in a better state as a country.
Well, this is the issue, and as you know, the mining bill in Parliament is taking a long time. It is a complex issue, but it should be resolved. And there are two types of mines, as you know, the big commercial mines and the artisanal miners. And these things have all got their own problems. From the proceeds of mining, we should be able to mechanize the artisanal miners, but it's not happening, because the artisanal miners are still digging with basic issues and no ventilation or environmental issues. So there are major issues there, and they're not getting it because the buyers are the one who are making the money. The buyers are making the profit. The people who come there and buy the gold, they're the ones who are taking the money. So the artisanal miner is struggling. If you look at the commercial mines, it's the same issue. Every commercial mine that exports its gold, when the money comes back, there's a retention by the Reserve Bank. And that retention basically kills their profits. So even our commercial mines, although they're mining a lot, they're not getting much for it. And it's all the mining policy is totally incorrect. It's like the agricultural policy in this country, it's incorrect. That's our issue.
What I think, there is need for educating the citizens the citizens, they need to be told. They need capacity building. We need to come up with community organizations, community-based organizations. I will give an example of areas like in Chiadzwa, where diamonds are being mined, and the process in Chiadzwa of extraction of diamonds, I heard it caused a lot of damage to the environment. Later on, community-based organizations were formed, and they started challenging the manner in which those resources were being extracted. So as a result, some of the cases were taken to court, some of the companies were taken to court, and the communities won the cases. But the problem is also on complying with the court ruling. That's also another thing that is here in Zimbabwe. But what we need is to take the discussion further and say, in such a situation, how can we also take the petition to Parliament, and also the citizens, they have an opportunity. They've seen the people who are supporting the current government. They have an opportunity this year, 2023, we are going for elections, and of course it comes every 5 years, an opportunity to deal with the government that is not complying with the expectations of the citizens. So there is need for the citizens to also actively involve themselves in voting for the government that will actually adhere to the aspirations of the Zimbabweans.
Hongu zvakaipa hatizvidi, hatite zvakanaka, but kuti tiite zvakanaka zvacho ndo zviri kunetsa kuti tingaite zvakanaka zvacho nenzira ipi.
Inyaya yekutora action against zvinhu zviri kuitika, asi action yandiri kufunga haisi ye-confrontational, ndeyengoti patiri kupinda mu-election vanhu vari kuita izvozvo vabude muma-systems chete, ndo zvandiri kufunga.
Kune vai vatinotaura pachiro kuti ma-stakeholders vakaekwatiri like tiri mumva kwese munomandika votiadresa vachitivhunzawo zvaunotivhunza, tovataura kuti right senge munomva kwese ari kuona patikamira panapa situation kuiona. Tine musika marketing yaidzosera mari kucancel yemva kwese yeHarare, anditika mari iyo yakaenda negold yaiuya futi kunoko. Sama citizens tiripo pakutaura zvinotirwadza, tiripo pakuchema, anditika asi vekuchemera vacho ngavauye kwatiriwo isusu tivapo zvatinokwanisa kutaura.
Just a few weeks ago, the RBZ, using the Financial Intelligence Unit, froze accounts of various people who had either been named in the Gold Mafia documentary or who had implicated themselves around the dealings that are in the Gold Mafia. And chief of among those whose accounts were frozen is Hubert Angel Macmillan. But of course, Hubert Angel remains an ambassador in the government of President Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, the Zimbabwe government.
It's not enough. Outside a parliament statement, that is not enough. We need to know those accounts, whether they are really still functional. How do you know probably it's a statement, it's an account that was already empty or the money was already withdrawn out of it and you just froze something that is no longer existing? And we need to hear people being arrested. People being arrested, people that we know being arrested. They must invoke the Interpol, because many actors that are in those episodes committed a crime against the Zimbabwean government. Whether the person is from China, the person from wherever, from India or from London, from this, the Interpol must be invoked such that these people can be arrested because they committed a crime against our country. We have not heard about that. Are we saying the local Zimbabweans who were part of that gold mafia, all of them ran away? Because we have not heard anyone who has been picked up by the police for questioning. Because the episodes they've got enough evidence to initiate a case. Let each person prove himself he was not involved. So the government, as far as I'm concerned, is not serious. It's not serious at all. And the people of Zimbabwe seem not to be convinced with what the government is doing. We are calling for more action from the state to make sure that they take the lead to manage this gold mafia effect thing. Because its long-term impact on us is so detrimental. We run a risk of being further sanctioned. We run a risk of our RBZ being sanctioned. And where do we go if we get sanctioned? So the government must take action, a strong action, to make sure that the whole world and the people of Zimbabwe should have confidence in the government. At the moment, people are shaken about whether the government is very serious about this or not.
Yeah, so the government should have, right in the beginning, as soon as this come out, they should have investigated literally in 24 hours. But while they're investigating, they should freeze everything. But the numerous things the government could do. The government could immediately have issued a statement. They've said nothing until recently. They should have frozen bank accounts. They should have seized the assets temporarily of everyone until such time they cleared their name. They should have dismissed certain people. The Orbit Angel should have been dismissed immediately. He didn't. But they're going for the small fish, the people who carry the gold. We don't want those people. We want the people who are not bringing the money back into the country. And those people are still sitting here. And I'm not saying they're guilty. I'm saying they must prove they're innocent. And the first thing they must ask for is tax returns. But having not dismissed anyone with any integrity in amongst that lot would have resigned, those employed by government, whether it's the Airports Authority, whether it's the ministers themselves. Where's the Ministry of Home Affairs? Where's he? What's he doing? He said nothing. Where's the Minister of Finance? He said nothing. The Minister of Transport, the Airports Authority, quiet. Because they know who's involved. And it goes right to the top. And I'm telling you now, you can't do this sort of operation without political cover. Fidelity printers still buying gold. They haven't accounted for what they've done. They haven't said anything. So it's all a farce.
The view that there is need to freeze assets for those people that have been mentioned. And I think the country has got sufficient laws to do that. If we use the Man Laundering and the Proceeds of Crime Act, we can easily do that. And I think it is actually the burden is upon those individuals to prove that they actually earned that money legally. And when I say legally, it also needs to be traced even with the taxman that Zimra had indeed received its share of taxes from the monies that those individuals could have made. So the question of freezing assets is actually a noble idea, and I think there is need for government and ZAC to actually move with speed. The only problem is that we don't think that this government has got the political will to deal with such issues. But if it did, going the forfeiture and the freeze of assets would actually be the right thing to do.
It's a good move if they can do it and implement it. But we have heard when we moved from the First Republic to the Second Republic that the military was targeting criminals who were surrounding the president. But it looks like the criminals are still there, or maybe they are new criminals. And there are also anti-laundering laws that were put in place. But we are not seeing action. We have not seen action. But if it is going to happen, and this time again, if they are going to freeze, I think they should come up with methods that there are proceeds which were acquired, through unscrupulous means. Maybe they can be utilized to sponsor the underprivileged people, to also support our hospitals. If this is the case, then I can agree with that, because it is bad for this country. It's not good for the economy.
ipapo vanhu ngati yakakanganisa inogona kungaita zvakanaka but singazoziva kuti hurumende yacho maasasi yacho ichaitise.
Mafungiro angu ndeyekuti ndoona kuti vanhu ava vanozivana, asi vari mukuzivana vanenge vava kuda kuti vavhare isusu kuti tifunge kuti vari kuita action against shamwari dzavo.
Vatigonera manje kana vafriza ka vagona manje kana mafriza asi tazona results ekuti mafriza ava achakwana anditi ka chitita kuti mari iyoyo ipinde mueconomy
apo hurumende kuragidza kuti kukundikana kwehurumende.
The Zimbabwe has a anti-corruption fighting unit, Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. It has been mum on these allegations, has not issued a statement and has not said anything. Attempts to get comment from them over this issue also hit a brick wall. Just recently, also, police spoke about investigating. But we ask the parliamentarians, we talk to them, what do they think about ZAC? Should ZAC have taken action?
Since there is a web which then involves the top government officials, the success of such investigations might be slim because, as you have said, we have heard of investigations, high-level corruption being leveled against top officials. Some of them are running for office, for public offices again, yet they were accused, they were investigated, and they were found not guilty. So that's the problem in Zimbabwe. So the issue goes back to the citizens. The court of public opinion should be expressed through, for example, elections. The people should rise up against those who are looting their natural resources. But I would also say the investigations could also just be a smokescreen to appease the anger of the people, to appear as if something is being done or something is happening, yet we know we'll go another 5 years and we'll be talking of another documentary and nothing will be happening. But if the government is serious, if the president of this country is serious, then we should be seeing heads rolling.
No, the government has got to respond because this is a national resource for the country. And like I say, it implicates the president, it implicates senior officials as well. And as a result, they cannot be quiet on this. And what is needed is a detailed response tackling every other issue. Not only that, did they know about it when it was happening? Because it seems to be an expose. So if truly it was happening, why did government not talk about it? So that it's not seen to be an expose. The fact that government has been quiet about it, it seems it's a big scoop. Yet they say, but it's normal. So if it's normal, why then was this not addressed to the nation pertaining to their ways of going about business? Government accounts to the people of Zimbabwe, and as a result, there's got to be that accountability and transparency. These are the two key words, accountability and transparency. Because this exposes the fact that it was not transparent. And who do they account to, and so forth. There's also a number of figures also missing. Did they undervalue the gold? And was it sold at the world market price or what? If it was undervalued, why was it undervalued and all that? So these are issues that they've got to respond to, because we must get the best price for our minerals. And that money must also be seen to be moving the country forward.
These aren't independent commissions. They're supposed to be independent commissions. They're appointed by one man, and that is the president. Yes, they have mock interviews and all that, but the commissions, it includes the Electoral Commission, it includes all the commissions, they're not independent. If you wanted a truly independent commission, you would advertise the jobs properly. It should be brought to Parliament or to Senate to decide, with obviously the approval of the President. And if you want to make something like the Anti-Corruption Commission independent, put some opposition people in there. Put some opposition people in the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. Put some opposition people, because then no one can be corrupt because everyone's watching each other. And that is the major issue we have in this thing. It's a tick-the-box exercise where we pretend to arrest people, where we pretend to go to trial. And when everyone forgets about it, we quietly release them. That's wrong. It's not just gold. It's a reflection on the whole country. It includes everything from land barons to everyone's forgotten about the diamonds. What's happening with the diamonds? Why are there still planes flying in and out there?
Zimbabwe anti-corruption chinonetsa manje zvekufunga hapana because iyo ndo vanoita basa racho handiti basa racho achiritawo futi nehoro hacho paanti-corruption wacho saka manje isitingafungi
tisingazoziviwo mashandiro avanoita asi nyaya iripo ndeyekuti ndinongoona kuti these organizations idzodzo vanhu vari kushanda vari pamwe chete in complicity nesystem iripo saka ndoona sekunge pasina action inokwanisa kuitwa nehurumende.
Anti-corruption inonetsa. Ukabata mkuru wacho anobva kupa mari. Usaburitse documentary yandataura newe. Zvavana kubata sekuti muroi. Vanokupa mbudzi kana mombe.
Now in all this, Parliament provides the oversight. It is the watchdog of our society. It is the watchdog of the executive, the watchdog of the other arms of the state. They watch over the judiciary, the executive. What will Parliament do as the legislative arm? They are the ones who are supposed to prescribe law. They are the ones who are supposed to call in the police, to call in the executive, to explain on these issues around the gold mafia. I mean, they should also just call the RBZ. But let's hear their views on what Parliament will do in this issue.
Well, again, in Parliament, we are very guilty of, we're supposed to have the oversight role. And the Parliament should be asking for statements from all these ministers to explain themselves. The issue here is this series from Al Jazeera is a 4-part series. So they're all sitting quietly waiting to see what the other one reveals. And there's still one to go. But once this one's revealed, the last one's been through, they're still going to sit and do nothing and wait for the noise to die down and hope something from the election side will take over the newspapers and it's not kept alive. But we as citizens must take heed of what's happened here. And anyone with information must make it public. Must make public everything that you don't believe is being done honestly and in favor of the citizens of Zimbabwe.
The Parliament, that's why I've said the Parliament should demand a ministerial statement. The Parliament should demand it as a matter of urgency. Minister of Finance should come with a ministerial statement to tell us on what exactly happened, how much we have lost through gold mafia, how much gold have we lost through gold mafia, how many billions worth of gold have we lost through the gold mafia. Is it still 50? Is it the same value as 15 billion of diamond, or this time around we are talking about so many billions out of this gold mafia? Let's hear about that. And you should also give a statement of confidence. How is the world looking at us? What are we going to be doing from now onwards? Are we able to trade with other countries outside Zimbabwe? You should come with a statement that gives us the confidence, because at the moment we have no confidence. People are already anticipating a situation of 2007. People are already saying things are getting bad in this country. Look at the exchange rate at the moment. It's skyrocketing. The RTGS value is losing every day. Things are getting very costly in shops. Even availability of certain goods in the shops is now quite visible in so many shops. So we are now sliding towards 2007. And people don't want to go there. People don't want to go back there. It's very frightful. So the minister must jump in to rescue this possibility that we might be going back to the challenges of the past. So the minister should come out with a statement. So the Parliament should be waiting for it. It is waiting for it.
I am sure parliamentarians are going to raise points of national interest and to debate this issue. It has happened before. There are people who are parliamentarians, I think Honorable Temba Muliswa and others who were chairing the Mines Committee. There are issues that were published in the newspaper. They were investigated, and Honorable Temba Muliswa recused himself from chairing. He actually resigned from chairing the Mines Committee because of those allegations, even though they were found not guilty. But he said, for the sake of integrity, I should resign. We also expect the president of this country, because he is also being implicated, to say, I failed this nation, so I should resign. And that is the noble thing that the president should also be doing. So we expect more parliamentarians to call for the president of this country to resign because of the failure to protect our natural resources.
As you may be aware, I serve under the Portfolio Committee of the Public Accounts Committee, and I often chair the subcommittee on state enterprises. We met last 2 weeks ago as the subcommittee on state enterprises, and we made a resolution that the documentary and the evidence that have been given by Al Jazeera and the expose that has come out requires the parliament to take an action. And what we did was we then made a resolution that we will be summoning or calling several entities to come before this committee. We are going to be calling first and foremost the Ministry of Finance. We will also call the Arab Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. We are also going to call Fidelity Printers. We will be calling the Civil Aviation of Zimbabwe and other entities and individuals that were mentioned in this documentary, because I think we need to come to the bottom of this matter. And as a Public Accounts Committee, the full subcommittee, the full Committee on Public Accounts Committee did adopt the position by the subcommittee, and when Parliament resumes in May, we will try to bring these people before the committee so that they will be in a position to answer these allegations. We want to give them the opportunity to prove otherwise, because the failure to appear before our committee will confirm that whatever has been said through this documentary is true. 2023
elections are coming through. Will this gold mafia documentary, will this expose have an effect in the polls? Will it affect how you are going to vote? Will it affect how the parties or the people contesting for power are going to present themselves to the electorate? Do they think that this is an issue that will shift the sands under the feet of those who hold power and actually control the resources that are being pilfered in these illicit financial flows?
I've said this over and over again. Elections that are done in countries that went for the liberation war are a waste of time, a waste of resources, putting people at risk, violence, serious abuses of individuals. Because the outcome of elections in countries that went for the liberation are predetermined. You will not change anything. I want to ask you a very simple question right now. Do you think ZEC has got the capacity to announce any other winner which is not Zim MP? Do you think our judicial system has got the capacity to judge against the ruling party president? There's nothing like that. So forget. Constitutionally, you need to be announced to be a winner by ZEC, confirmed by the Concord, if you question, for you to go to the State House. So there is a permanent intergenerational conflict of the young and the old. The young represented by opposition political parties, and the old represented by the ruling party. The conflict is fixed and is permanent. It needs to be resolved in a strategy of a government of national unity. where you bring these two generations together so that they can coexist and develop trust among them. They share positions in the cabinet, one president, one prime minister. And when you do that, that's a practical way or a practical mechanism in which you achieve unity, you achieve peace, and you achieve common vision on the economy. And the country can develop. So the winner-take-all principle is an evil system which you must not entertain in Zimbabwe. The winner-take-all system is imperialist and it's capitalist in nature. It's not got no relevance to our African culture and African identity. We don't need it. It goes against the values and the principles of Nimbe, Ilima, and Hume. We never competed in our lives for power. We had well-designed power structures, which we must rebuild, model them to the current world, to the modern world right now. So the elections that we are going to be going for August, good luck. I know the outcome myself. Going to vote is just wasting my time. I know what's going to come. We need to engage these people to work together, to coexist, so that we understand each other. We need a transition anyway. A transition that will take the Sabbath transition that was suggested by the church leaders is where we must go. In the transition period, we trust each other. We educate each other. We become one family. And during that Sabbath period, no one is going to fight against each other. During that period of transition, the economy will develop and grow. We've got Egypt right now. It's an example of a country that really stayed down and said, do we need elections for a given period? I understand Egypt went for a referendum and deferred elections for a given period so that they can concentrate on unity, peace, and focus on the common vision. We have countries that are using governance of inclusivity, such as Rwanda. In a Rwandan government, there are more than 5 to 6 political parties in the cabinet. And because of that structure and that mechanism, they have unity, they have peace, and they focus on the common vision. We are running away from winner-take-all principle. Even Europe has abandoned the winner-take-all principle. The German government is coalition. The French government is coalition. The Israeli government is coalition. The Italian government is coalition. So why should we stick to things of the past that are evilish in nature, such as the winner-take-all principle? Let's run away from those things and introduce proportional representation, which will deal with our unity, gender issues, and so many things. Let us go and adopt permanent solutions of our issues, which is the government of national unity, which is Ume in African culture, which is Nimbe in African culture. But the foundation of Nimbe was to make sure that no family should starve. And we've proved from 1980 to 1987, 2009, that every time we had the government of national unity, the general public benefited. The students benefited. Vendors benefited. Youth benefited from employment. Hospitals had made the same. Roads were all repaired. Economy improved. Life became quite affordable. People were able to build houses during the GNU time. So why don't we go there? It's our African culture. It's our governance. We own it.
Listen, no one must ever vote for a system which is corrupt. No one must vote for a system which cannot account to the people. No one must vote for a system which is not transparent. Not one must vote for a system which is violent. No one must ever vote for a system that persecutes people, that violates people's human rights. It's holistic. What people want is a good country, good governance, with law and order, with peace. No one must vote for a system that does not respect people's intellectual property rights and so forth. A system that does not account to its resources to the people. Why are they in power then, if they are not able to stand for what they are there for and all that? So yes, I wouldn't at all vote for such a system. We want leaders who stand for the people, not leaders who are about themselves.
As it affects such. As Tongo Sarza Zatuga.
Sezvo ndambotaura mumashure zviri nani vanhu ava vari kuita izvozvo vakabva havo musystem. Ndachingokumbira vanhu venyika yezimbabwe they just have to vote against the system iyi.
Tinotochinja because vanhu vakabaka. Totochinja vanhu vakabaka.
Kuri kumavhotsi manje ka hazviaffect kune anonzwisisa language nini hazviaffect ende affection yemavhotsi hazviite munhu anosadza shamwari yake anoda.
I think citizens should actually make a decision to say, do we need to continue to have these people that continue to loot our own resources? It doesn't matter what they call them, binkas, whatever you call them, but the truth of the matter is that it is better to make sure that we, as a country, we provide sufficient quality water for everybody rather than to get the best whisk for only few individuals.
The president of Zimbabwe needs to adopt permanently governance system of inclusivity, because it is actually his cultural governance system which is African based, and governance system which would make the president of this country more independent than ever before against the East and the Western world. At the moment, by following the Western governance system, the Eastern governance system, he has no freedom as a president. He is not independent as a president. He cannot decide or think on his own because he is manipulated by either West or East. I would advise him to take up the model of an African governance system, which is the NIMBE concept, which is the GNU. At the moment he does that, he unites us as Zimbabweans. All political parties come together, form a government of national unity. No enemy will come in influence us because we'll be united. The winner take all principle, my president. Inonzipacho vanhu shaisana. And kana kwandishaisa ndinokuchaya ndare. If you involve me, I will support you. If you involve me, I will show your vision. If you involve me, I will be part of you through and through. Even the 2030 vision will succeed if we have government of national unity. Because everyone will put his effort towards the economic development agenda. Everyone will support the economic policy of this country. Right now, it's only ZANU-PF that are supporting the 2030 vision because we are excluded. We are not part of it. We are not in the NIMBE concept. We are not in the Lima setup. We are not in the Hume setup. So the president must take upon himself this call of establishing a new governance system. And probably what I think, far beyond this, you should then influence the whole of SADC to adopt the government of national unity. Influence the whole of Africa to influence the government, the GNU type of government. Because this is an African model of governance system. An African model, an Afrocentric model of governance. We don't work in separation as blacks. We don't work in enmity as blacks. We work together as family. We did it before in 2009. We got evidence. In 1987 we did it. 1980 we did it. Let's go back there. That's our model of governance system. So the president, you should lead in this agenda. You should lead in formulating an Afrocentric governance system.
Pretty clear. It seems that there are a lot of things that are happening which he seems not to know about. There's no ways from a national security point of view this was supposed to happen without him knowing.
The issue is very simple, is that there comes a time in life where we have to regularize everything and do it properly. It's all right us behaving like we're doing, but already we're too late with this crowd. I mean, the freezing of bank accounts is a week after, 2 weeks afterwards. If you were exposed like that, you would clean out your bank account the next day. The people that they're talking of arresting or freezing the bank accounts are the small fish. The big fish, they've done nothing to. And the people holding the bank accounts, the bankers must be held to account. Because if you see $20 million in a broken economy of us going through a bank account every week, there's a problem. And then the government must also bring in and enforce the law. There is no one should be allowed to hold cash to the extent that these people are holding cash. And cash can never be taxed. Because if I give you $10 now, the Ministry of Finance get nothing.
Firstly, I would say to President Mnangagwa, there is need for new laws governing the extraction of natural resources in Zimbabwe. There is actually need for a resource charter, a natural resource charter. We need even a national reserve for our resources. We need to come up with a revised indigenization policy, a policy which then fulfills the constitutional provision that resources being extracted should benefit the people living in those areas where resources are being extracted. I will speak maybe for Warren Park, for instance. There is gravel that is being extracted. I'm sure when you went to Merek shops, you saw how the Warren Hills is being destroyed. But no one is benefiting from that gravel. Our roads are being destroyed. There is dust that is also likely to affect the health of the people who stay in Cold Comfort, in Warren Park D. So there is need to come up with new laws governing the extraction of mineral resources. There is also need to expedite the process of beneficiation of natural resources. We are exporting gold, raw gold, but we can actually make jeweler out of gold. We can make jeweler out of diamonds. But this is not happening. There is need for government strategic, policy decision to make sure that we export natural resources that are processed, not raw, in raw form. So there is also need to punish those who are found guilty in terms of breaching, the laws of this country, but there's need to revise, because some are saying even a private person can get a license to buy gold, so it's not smuggling. So it means there is weakness also in terms of the law. The other thing that also the president needs to do is to beef up the security of this country. Beyond smuggling of gold, but the way it was smuggled through the airport, those revelations shows that we are not secure as citizens of Zimbabwe. If such things can happen at the airport, then how do we really feel secure as Zimbabwean citizens? So there is need to do more in terms of securing the people of Zimbabwe. Even the people who come to Zimbabwe, the tourists. We say Zimbabwe is a tourist destination for people from all over the world. But how can they feel secure if the airport is not security tight, as everyone would expect? Then it requires the president to really rethink the security strategy of this country.
Ngaite kuti zviite mushe zvofamba zvakanaka chete, zvongofamba zvakanaka chete, zvongoitawo kuti zvisimudze nyika. Infe
ndachitofungira kuti dai kwakuri kufunga kwangu ndirini ndapiwa nyaya dzakafanana neidzodzo, kusiya basa kwakuri nani.
Tiri ma-civilians hatikwanisi kumboadvise vanhu vari mudhuze maake ava, vanhu vake ava. Saka hapana vanenge vachingoti ngatichaye bhora takaenda kumberi, waibata. Hapana zvatomboadvise kupinda takagara panapa. Iye vari padhuze pake ivavo handiwo mwacho ari kudya ireva. Saka vanenge vachingoti bhora riri mberi. Saka toita sei?
It's true. That is, I don't want to be part of the politicking. I don't want to be part of the leadership that is politicking. Sanctions are real. They are there. If you read the Zdera Act, if you're a normal person, you will not doubt it. If you look at the conditions of OFAC, you will not doubt it. Sanctions are there in our country, and they need a resolution. We need to resolve it. Because all this gold busting that we're talking about is a way of trying to raise foreign currency, but in a manner that is not good. So we need to also sit down as Zimbabweans and come out with a solution in which we can resolve issues of sanctions, which is very different from gold mafia. We should have a strategic way of dealing our issues. And one of the issues that I believe in Zimbabwe, which can resolve sanctions, is the unity of all political parties and all stakeholders. Let's normalize our country. Let's make sure that our country re-engages the world. At the moment, the country is not re-engaging the world because of the polarization of politics in this country, the disunity among political parties in this country. The country must come to a point where they negotiate for an inclusive government. An inclusive government will resolve all these problems that we're talking about. Because the moment we get into the inclusive government, we achieve three components which are very vital in any society. First one is unity. Second one is peace. Second one is sharing the common vision on the economy. The economy must have the common vision as leaders in this country, inclusive of the churches, inclusive of the trade unions, inclusive of the students, inclusive of the vendors. Or political parties must work together to achieve this framework of governance, which is very inclusive in nature. Remember what we used to do when we were, as Africans back there. We used to have our governance system, which I admire so much, which we used to call Nimbe, Ilima, or Umwe in our culture, in which we were trying by all means to make sure that no African family would go after a rainy season without food in their own houses, by applying the Nimbe concept, Umwe concept, or Ilima concept. This is the governance system that I want people to develop. And the government of national unity would achieve that. Because in the Nimbe concept, there were three elements that we always taken care of. It was unity, peace, and focus on the economy. In the GNU concept, we also have unity, peace, and focus on the GNU concept. And this is called in Shona Gukura Ngutarujinji. So the government must deliberately take this approach, the Zundere Mambo concept, in a modern way of governance. And if we approach this way, it will reduce the amount of corruption that we have in the country. Zimbabwe is experiencing grand corruptions because of the extreme poverty that we have. Remember, almost 50% of our Zimbabwean population languish in abject poverty. And more than 64% of the people are poor in this country. So the environment is conducive to corruption. The environment is conducive to the gold mafia. The environment is conducive to criminal activities. So our enemy in Zimbabwe right now is the extreme poverty. But I know if we unite as Zimbabweans, and if we share power as Zimbabweans, we can destroy our number one enemy, which is poverty. In 1980, we shared power, we destroyed poverty. In 1987, we shared the power, we destroyed poverty. In 2008, we shared the power and we destroyed poverty. And to me, this is our Nimbe. This is our Ilima. This is Gusarujinji. This is the way we should go as Zimbabweans. All Zimbabweans should come together. Churches, trade unions, students, vendors, resident associations, journalists, accountants, doctors. Let's come together and build up a new model of governance system, which is Afrocentric based, with our culture and identity of a black person. If we develop our own systems that we know, that we have history with, we can develop our economy very safely and very easily. This is what I think should be done to resolve this gold mafia issue, to resolve this poverty.
I've always said that corruption has taken over from sanctions. If there's anything, the real players who say sanctions are hurting the community are actually taking advantage of sanctions to be corrupt. So they want to talk about that as a facade to say we are struggling, but at the same time they're pulling big deals on the side. So to me, it's not that. I think we have our own resources. We have lithium, we have platinum, we have gold, as you can see. But how come the welfare of the people is not changing? The civil servants who are working, the security sector which is working, the parliamentarians who are working, just from a holistic point of view, there is nothing showing that things are changing as per the endowed resources people say we have. So if these resources are not benefiting the people, so why do we talk about them? Why do we talk about a budget with so many $12 billion, $13 billion economy from a mining perspective, yet we don't see it trickling down to the ordinary person? Benefit us through a proper healthcare system, through proper road infrastructure, through good pensions and so forth. The pensioners themselves have lost money. How are they being cushioned from all the resources that we have? So clearly they must know where they're going, who's benefiting.
Look, I've always been of the view that sanctions are there because of some ill we've done. And it's up to us to correct that ill and stop complaining about sanctions. Sanctions aren't Zimbabwe only. Rhodesia was under sanctions. Sanctions go back a long time. We've always had some sort of sanction on us. And we must get over it and fight it. But when we do things like this, where we're stealing or exporting $20 million worth of gold a week, where's the money going? And I'll tell you what, it's very easy. All these people who've been mentioned in Al Jazeera, let's see their tax returns. Let's see how much money they're declaring here in Zimbabwe. Because it also covers the issue of money laundering, where the money is left outside the country. So the issue is very simple on sanctions. Sanctions must go, we've always said that. But so must the problems that cause the sanction.
I've heard some people trying to justify the clandestine way of the smuggling that they are doing, and they point out that they are trying to bust the sanctions. But which report should we believe? The Reserve Bank is on record. It came out and clearly stated that, look, we as a country, RBZ, the central bank of this country, it was actually trading normally. And this thing about trying to bust the sanctions is just a clear cover-up by corrupt individuals who are abusing state and the country resources for their own benefits. If you check in terms of our performance as an economy, our balance of payments, you look at our total receipts in terms of foreign currency, we do comparably well compared to other countries. But the amount of money that we are generating per annum should actually be probably twice if all this gold that is being smuggled was being recorded under the foreign receipts that we get. But because we've got a syndicate that is actually siphoning monies and the wealth of this country, we end up where we are without, and we are failing even to then meet the basic social needs of our people.
The information from the Gold Mafia documentary dispels the mantra that the economic situation we are facing is as a result of sanctions. But actually, it also draws to the attention of the citizens the actual causes of sanctions, that those that are being sanctioned, they are not being fair to the citizens, they are not being fair to Zimbabwe, they are not being fair to the people who died for this country, who fought for the liberation of this country. Yes, we got political independence, but there is no economic independence. So this is a clear information which shows that Zimbabwe is in an economic mess because of mismanagement of natural resources, because of looting of natural resources, resources that are not being utilized to promote the livelihoods of the people of Zimbabwe.
Where is it? Ndo kunyanya kuzotikonzeresa. Womwe sanctions tingaweti now. Asi uri ukanyanya ka. Zvibuda. Ingwani Smith akapiwa masanctions onza akaita sei bana. Nditi akangoramba chi.
Andione unge economy yeZimbabwe yakakanganiswa nemasanctions. Maonero angu. Asi aya ma-targeted sanctions asina kuaffecta nyika, aka-affecta vanhu vakanzi vasauye kunyika dzekunze.
Kumasanction kwako kune dambudziko 1 rekuti isusuka nemapolicies edu atinawo isusu angasikawirane nema-western countries. Saka ndo pane dambudziko iyo vanobva ngotivharira panze, asi isusu zvatiri tiri right, iyo haasi kuda zvatikuda kutaura isusu.
masanctions hapana. Government yedu yakatopusa vanonyembera inindi ne 55 years andika masanctions hapana. Government tine magold redu riri kuenda ndiribuda kunze ko sanction yapapi futi musaramba muchinyemberwa nyaya yesanction kana uchida sanction ngavaye kwandiri ndivautaurire.
Thank you very much for joining me on this, the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom. Now, the gold reserves, the minerals of this nation are supposed to benefit the people of Zimbabwe. They're supposed to be used to provide the free education for all that government has promised since around 2017. It is supposed to ensure that our health delivery system is well funded through government collecting taxes from those who mine the minerals. It is supposed to improve the lives of the citizens of this country. Gold has also been used to back the value of currency by other nations. The Zimbabwean dollar is sliding. Just this morning when I checked, it was against the United States dollar 1:1,500 Zimbabwean dollars. Just imagine this 1:1,500. At one point, it was 1:1. But we hear that we're losing billions worth of gold. How does this affect you, you might ask? How do you feel, I might want to know? Here, on this, the Free Talk, we give you an opportunity to be heard. We give you an opportunity to understand the issues that affect your lives. This is me, your host as usual, Dara Blessed Mhlang. On this, the Free Talk, in proud partnership, the Frederick Newman Foundation, here on Heart and Soul TV and radio. Please kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you cannot miss, you don't get to miss on these insightful conversations. This is the Free Talk.